G'day everyone, welcome to another episode of Trackside Beans. Trackside, right now. Blooper.
Hey everybody, I'm Brian.
Hello everybody, this is Joe G.
Hey, I'm Shannon.
Hi, I'm Ron.
Hey, this is Steve.
Oh, and we can't forget about Marcel.
Oh, hey.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And good evening, Australia.
Yeah.
So we're doing a trackside beans, I guess now, huh? I guess we changed the deal.
That was
It's all good. Now, welcome to another episode of Trackside with the Back on Track team. This morning we've got Ali, we've got Claude, and we've got Steve, as well as myself. So, yeah, hello to everyone in chat. So, let's see who's in chat. We got John2618, Marty from M&M Shortline, Eyeballing Hogger, PDR.
Damn.
Okay. PDR Engineering, Lazy Junction, Roy, Joel's on here, Christopher Maloney, and yeah, that's everyone I can see in chat at the moment. So good morning to those who are in chat. Good morning to anyone else who is watching the show. Today we are doing a part 2 of weathering and detailing. Since last week, there was just so much we could talk about. We thought, hang on, Shannon, your volume sounds muffled. Does my microphone sound muffled to you guys?
Sounds good to me.
right.
Hang on. Give us a second. I'll fix that after I do this. Yeah, so we're going to do another weathering. I think I know what's going on. I've got 2 microphones. Anyway, so another thing of weathering. So, because there's so much information we can go on about, there's so many different ways you can do things, so many, I'm getting tongue-tied here. Because, Jesus, it's too early.
Well, you've been dealing with a toddler for the last couple of hours. Your brain is scrambled.
Yeah, my brain is definitely scrambled with baby brain at the moment.
Baby brain.
Yeah. But yeah, there's many different ways to, do weathering, and weathering doesn't just come down to weathering locomotives and boxcars. It also comes down to weathering buildings, trackside objects. What else?
Scenery.
Yes, scenery. Like a lot of people don't really think, oh, I'm doing trees and that. They don't think on it. You need to weather trees because just in some aspect you do need to actually create some weathering with trees. Whether it be discoloration, deadfall. There's different things you can do that'll actually, weather and detail a scene. On your layout or in a diorama. So,
I never thought about that. That was a good point that you made.
Speaking of,
yeah, and really, the scenery is kind of weathering too. You're weathering your layout, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Like it even depends on like what time of year you're actually portraying on your layout or diorama. It'll all determine how the weathering is going to be done. Is it going to be extremely dusty? Is it going to be extremely muddy? Excuse me. Is there going to be a lot of deadfall? Is it going to be very minimal deadfall? Is there going to be a lot of green shrubbery, dead shrubbery, a bit of mix? Water catchments, are they going to be fairly dry, fairly full? It all comes down together with everything, and like there is so many different ways of weathering those kind of things. With that, I guess I'll pick on Claude for the minute because I know he's been doing trestle bridges, which building a trestle bridge, does have its own way, some weathering techniques. So, Claude, I'll let you take the floor.
Yeah, well, in the trestle, the first one I'm building, I built the deck first because I had to have the track laid out. So I built the deck and got it all done and got the track put on it. But when I was leveling that out, I sanded it down. And of course, all the ties were not level. So I sanded it, tried to get it fairly level to put the rails on. Well, some of the ties were higher than others, so they got more sanding than others. And I decided to just leave it that way. I thought it gave it a nice look as far as being weathered, those particular ties being more weathered and not as fresh as creosote on it as it would have been, if it was brand new. So that was kind of an accidental weathering, but I do that a lot. If something gets on the layout that I don't like, then I'll change it. But half the time I've done when I was painting the mountain the same way. I would paint something and dab it off, and then it looked good. So that was just kind of a way of weathering and that was the base color of the mountain. But as it's going on, it's looked even better. So you can have accidental weathering. You can have natural weathering. Not so much on a railroad layout, I guess. But it applies to everything on the layout because our layouts are models of outside. The buildings are outside, the trains are outside, everything else is outside on that. It's supposed to be outside. So you've got to try and make it look that way and not look like a landscape display at a home show inside a convention building. They're all pristine. They don't look like they've been outside. But we need them to look like they've been outside for a while. So all of that, comes into the techniques of weathering.
The colorings that you use, because then it ends up looking toy-like.
Sure.
So yeah, you kind of want to make it look real.
And the other beauty about weathering as well is if you've got something like, say, black truck on a locomotive, you look at the detail on that, and it's got fantastic detail, but you take a photo of it, you can't see it. It's just all black. And when you start putting the weathering on it, you put a little bit of dust and you start seeing the detail. And it's not just with locomotives, of course, it's with anything. It brings out the detail and it gives it more of a 3D rather than 2D effect.
Well, it was like when I was doing the mountain and doing some of the castings, rock castings that I was doing. I started with a gray base, and then I did black wash on them. I did some green wash. I did some burnt sienna wash on it to make it look like iron ore. And everything I put on it just made it look more realistic. Every layer helped. And that's what weathering is. It's a layer of stuff that would happen in nature if it's sitting outside. Combined with, in a case of a rock, combined with what the rock is made of. But everything weathers differently. And so when you're doing scenery and weathering scenery, nobody can come in and say, well, that's not right, because you could point to something that is realistic. You could have a picture of something that was like that, and I'm kind of getting off track here, but you can, anything you do on your layout, you can probably find in nature somewhere.
Oh, sure.
So, it's not hard to do. It's not hard to do, but you just got to kind of start, get started on it, and it'll fall together.
Yeah, well, exactly. It's hard to make a mistake when you're doing scenery too. I mean, you found that out, Claude. It's like you thought it was like, and it just keeps getting better. You put more layers on, and you get happy accidents. I know I had that with mine. It's
well, and in the case of the rock castings, to Ali's point, you use white a lot of times at the end to highlight the ridges and stuff that would be sunlight shining on it, depending on where the rock is supposed to be. But you use a lot of light colors at the end to bring out the texture of the rock. And you wouldn't think it would work, but it works really well. And there's dozens of videos on YouTube on how to do that sort of thing and different ways of doing it. Just like there are weathering boxcars or rolling stock, anything like that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Claude, as well, like, you building the trestles, you were mentioning you use like a wood stain on those that actually soaks into the actual material itself.
Yeah, on the trestle, I used just a dark walnut stain. It looks pretty good. You can probably find some that are more black if they're a newer creosote color, like a railroad tie would be. That's what they would look like brand new, I'm sure. But after they've sit out in the sun, they start to bleach and they start to look like driftwood the longer they sit out. And of course, by that time, they have to be replaced because they're breaking down. And so they'll take the old ones out and put new ones in. You can see that on any railroad that still uses wooden ties. If you walk down along a section that's used all the time, there'll be new ties in there ever so often where they've had to take them out and put new ones in.
Oh, sure.
And that changes the weathering of that track. Some will look brand new, some won't. So you can do that kind of look on track work, or you could do all new. It could be a new section of line if you want it to be.
Yeah, well,
Yeah, on older track, you very seldom ever see ties all the same color. They're always different. I mean, you very seldom find them all the same. Like I said, unless they're new or they're concrete.
Well, and it's like weathering the rail. A lot of people like to get down with a paintbrush or a marker and do each rail individually, and that's fine. I opted to take some Rust-Oleum camouflage brown that makes a real nice looking aged rail. It's not real rusty looking, but most rail that's run over very much doesn't look rusty. It gets oil and everything else on it from all the drum boxes going over it. So
sure.
It looks more brown than it does rusty. And it gives a real good look, and it's real easy to do because I just go down the rail with a spray can and gives me that, and then I just wipe it off the top of the rail. So that's a fast weathering, and I opted to do that because most of mine is going to be used rail. It's not going to be abandoned rail.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, at the moment on my camera, you can see my layout at the moment. And, I have been doing some remodeling. I've remodeled the junkyard as, if anyone who recognized what it used to look like, it has changed a bit. But if you actually look closely, which I'll just make the image a bit bigger for the second, you can see on the track, I've been putting some grass tufts in to actually show grass growing through the ballast, And, that could be considered, a weathering technique in itself. If you look over here by the switch point motors and all the switches, you can see I've used a black, I guess like a black wash. So, I tinted some water to be a very dark black with a lot of pigment. And, I just washed it into the track to show, where locomotives have been sitting there waiting, for the right of way or whatnot, or, even just, maintenance crews greasing up the switch point motors and the grease eventually seeping into the ballast around. Things like that. And as Claude mentioned, obviously the sun's going to bleach a lot of stuff. So, it's all good and well to have buildings, look brand new, but, if you have the time or something like that, just give it just go outside with a spray can. If you're on a budget, go out there with a spray can. With like say a very soft white, and just dust over it. Like paint it from a distance, dust over it so it lightens up the shade. Throw some dirt on it. You name it. There's plenty of things you can do outside with what's around you to weather buildings. You don't have to buy the products off the shelves and go, I'm going to use this weathering powder or this weathering paint, this and that. If you just want to make something look a bit aged and bleached, just, go cheap. Go get a spray can, lightly feather over the item, get some dirt, rub the dirt into the crevices and, cracks in whatever. Get a hobby knife, and add some extra detail in there.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Shannon.
Yeah. even well, I was going to say, even then, like if you have a wooden structure, you know, you can weather it and do all that, and then what you can do is you can, with a paintbrush, paint over a section to make it look like it's been replaced.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, I was going to say, you were talking about dusting with white paint. You can also make a white wash. You know, you don't hear people talk about making a wash out of white or out of a light tan or a light gray or something like that. You can get the same effect. And you can get a streaky effect if you do that. So for like calcium deposit around where a steam whistle would come out on the steam engine, or any place else there might be water that would be running, you know, off of the engine somehow, or cars or whatever. But you know, rainwater, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But you're going to have a variety of ways of making something look older without getting, you know, real technical with it. It's kind of amazing, but you really got to start it and then just find out what works for you. You know, start with a cheap boxcar or a cheap plastic building and start doing stuff to it. See what it looks like.
Right. Well, you know, Jen brought a good point about, you know, doing it without spending a lot of money. You can do the same thing with weathering a layout by just using natural materials you can find outside. And that's what you sift out dirt to different textures and, you know, densities and find sticks. I mean, all the deadfall on this is all little oak branch twigs that I broke up, and, you know, and they, you know, you break them up, they're about 1/8 of an inch. They end up looking like a tree when they're laying on the ground, you know, and the dirt, this is all dirt, all sifted dirt, you know, and just kind of sprinkle them on. I didn't buy any of it. So you can do it without spending a ton of money.
Yeah. Well, even what I suggested to you, Steve, after you started making the trees with leaf fall, you know, I told you to go out, get a blender, get some leaves, and stick the leaves in the blender.
Actually, yeah, I did that. I went out and got some oak leaves and put them in a coffee grinder, and it actually worked really good. You know, because some of it's really fine and some of it is coarse. And yeah, and you sprinkle that around and, you know, do it just like you do with any other scenery, you know, wet it down and glue it down and it stays and it looks good. It looks like, you know, I mean, for N scale, it looks pretty good. Some of it looks, it's like, damn, you know, it's just like, I'm surprised. So yeah, you can have a happy accident and not spend a ton of money. That's all I do is have happy accidents.
Just going through chat here, there's some interesting comments here, particularly one here from Eminem Shortline. He says, I've used light grey wash to highlight brick mortar lines on a brick building. That's a great idea. There was another comment here I was going to highlight as well, and I've got to try and find it again. Yeah. Human City Junction says, my biggest scenery mistake was not back painting my structures. There's one to learn from, guys.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, just on that point, just so I can show everyone. That's a plastic structure. And you can see it looks very dull. That was made with a... what color did I use? I think I used a maroon, a red, and a brown. And I just lightly dusted that in about 10 minutes. You know, and you can see the difference compared to the water tower, which I haven't even touched yet with any form of weathering techniques. What else?
Well, like I say, the biggest thing I think people can do that haven't tried weathering something is just to start.
Yeah.
Get you some chalk. You know, it doesn't even have to be.
Make cakes.
Yeah, makeup cakes. You can be chalk from watercolors.
Okay.
You know, take a knife and scrape dry watercolor off on a paper and use a little water or alcohol to mix it up and make a wash with it. You can dry brush it on, but you need to start with something. Pick something that you're not going to use on the layout, that you're not going to put on your layout, and pick it up and start trying to make it look old, or not even old, but just like it's been sitting outside for a while.
Yeah.
And it's amazing what you'll learn on your own just by doing it and trying it. And if it doesn't work, some stuff you can just wipe off or take to the sink. And if it's a plastic model, you can take it to the sink and wash it off, and let it dry and start over.
Yeah.
But you gotta start someplace if you're gonna try and make your layout look as real as possible, because weathered models, weathered layouts look so much better than those that aren't, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because they look real, and that's kind of what we're after mostly, is to mimic what's out in the real world.
Yeah. I was going to say, you look here, this is part of a road that I'm redoing, and you can see the difference between the road I've weathered versus the road I've just painted. Like, excusing the dirt, if I just go that angle, you can see that, like, they're both the same shade of paint, but you can see the difference between one and the other. Like with doing roads, same thing. You use what if you're on a budget, use what you can find around you. But otherwise, it's just a form of applying techniques one over the other. So you paint it down, you give it a dusting with a white powder of sorts. Give a bit of a wipe down, and then with the road markings, where the traffic drives over, and kind of leaves that black residue, just get some pencil lead. Scrape the pencil lead over the road, and then rub it in with your finger, just to show heavy use of traffic.
I'm sure we all make it sound so easy, and to go on by what Claude said was, just do it.
Just do it.
Yeah, and Wilmer brings, on Wilmer on chat, he says, I just started using pastels and he really likes them. Weathering is fun once you start. So getting over the initial fear of messing up. Yeah, I mean, that's true. Just do it.
Yeah, I was not looking forward to painting the mountain.
I know you weren't.
Or weathering rocks, because I'd never done it before. But once I started, I'm going, this is easy. It's, and if you mess up, you paint over it some more and do something different. Yeah. So it's just getting started. Have a little confidence in what you're doing and just start, and pretty soon you'll figure out what you want it to look like, and you'll figure out a way to get there, because you'll see what the stuff that you're using, whatever it may be,
right,
on whatever you're putting it on, what happens to it, the change that it makes. And once you see that, that's what'll give you the confidence to continue on and try something else.
Yeah, and our D&R engineer also brings up a good point, that he mimics Mother Nature. He does a little bit at a time, and that's true. You can always go back and add stuff. And
yeah. That's the other thing is, now painting rocks and stuff like that's a little bit different, but doing rolling stock, and Shannon can tell you this, a little goes a long way. And sometimes just a little bit is better than putting a whole bunch on. So start out light, especially if it's on something that you want to use all the time. But try that first on your practice. Go real light with it and see how it looks to you. And then if you don't like it, put a little more on it.
Right.
That it's easy to add to it. Sometimes it's harder to take away. Yeah. So it's very subtle.
Yeah.
Very subtle shading around the fans and that sort of thing. Yeah. And it's not hard to do. But there again, if you've got something to practice on, you'll get the confidence to do it.
Yeah, exactly.
John 26:18. Yeah, he tests methods on old cheap rolling stock.
Yeah.
Trial and error. Yeah, if you've got something you don't like, you can.
Yeah, and you can pick up that stuff. Of course, with the lockdown and stuff people have been through, we haven't been going to train shows. But train shows are a great place to find some cheap rolling stock. There's usually vendors that have boxes and boxes of old rolling stock with no, that aren't in their own boxes. They're just a pile of trains, and they'll sell them for pretty cheap. And if you catch them at the end of the day, especially, You can go and get a whole armful for $10, you know, and you can practice all over the place with those. But it doesn't have to be rolling stock even. It can, you know, be house or anything else.
Yeah.
Even just a piece of, if you're building wood structures, say out of balsa wood or styrene like Shannon's showing there, anything like that, take a scrap piece and paint on it a little bit, or paint it the base color and then put some weathering technique on it and see how you like it. You'll be surprised at how much you learn by doing that.
Yeah, exactly. And there's just so many ways you can build up on it, you know, like if I go on about my collection, and, you know, I'm sure, you know, the rest of the Back on Track team have probably had enough of an earful of me talking about how much of a collection I've got and, you know, the amount of stuff I weather. But, you know, like, as Claude says, you just got to jump into it. Like, when I first started weathering, I was shit scared. You know, I was terrified. And you know, the main thought going through my head was, if I screw this up, I've just ruined a $400 locomotive. And, you know, now, 10 years later, you know, I've sold that locomotive, you know, to someone, and, you know, they've enjoyed it. But I've now been weathering other stuff, like, you know, I'm in the middle of plans of weathering a Athen Big Boy. I've got another Challenger I need to weather. Those E units that you see sitting there in my camera view at the moment, I've got to do a bit of weathering on them. And like right here, this is the City of Los Angeles set, and I'm going to even weather those. You know, it's not going to be heavy weathering because obviously, you know, in the real world, you know, the companies keep the passenger cars clean and whatnot, but, you know, things like bogies and undercarriages and whatnot, you know, it's very hard to clean them, you know, and then there's the grease and the oils and you name it. You know, there's just so many things you can weather, and you just have to jump into it and get into it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you can even see, like, these trees here, you know. Some of these trees are nice and old, some of them fairly fresh, but you can see the different colours, and that's comes back down to, you know, using dirt. You know, just get a big bucket of dirt, chuck a couple of trees in there, sift it around, pull it out, give it a shake, give it a dusting, and, you know, you can pull so many different colours doing it that way.
Yeah.
You know, John 2618, that's also good suggestion. He tests paints on pieces of styrene to find out if they play good together, because some paints don't like to mix.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, always test what you're using, because you don't want to mix something and then not have it work. You know, like,
yeah, especially if it's something you haven't used before, and you're going to use two different kinds of materials as far as paints or washes or alcohol or whatever you're using on to make your weathering or your painting, basic painting of the model. Always test it on something if you can. There again, to see if it's going to have a reaction with what else is in there. You know, it's like using CA on plastic. You have to be very, very careful because it'll just melt it, you know. Or using something like, you know, now this is an extreme example, but acetone will do the same thing. You know, it's fingernail polish remover, and if you use that on plastic, it'll just melt the plastic. So you got to be careful with that kind of stuff. But paints can also have reactions with each other. I've got this stuff I was showing last week. This says creosote on it, and it's basically an India ink alcohol wash. But if I use this, then I've got to be careful with what else I mix it with, so that the alcohol in it doesn't react, you know, with the paint and mess the paint up. So
it also goes back to what we were saying a couple of weeks back with, you know, giving advice and stuff, and we ended up talking about cheap starter sets and things like that. When you move on to your more expensive, more professional stuff, when you realise that you really want to get into the hobby and you want to learn about weathering and stuff like that, you keep those old lifelike cheap starter sets, because those are the ones you practice your weathering on. and beds, or as what people say when you go to shows, it doesn't even matter if you pick up a boxcar without bogies or without wheels on it, because that's still a good test bed for weathering. And once you're done with it, it's still semi-okay. You can always sell it, make your money back.
Or you do what I've done.
Oh yeah, chuck it in your scrapyard.
Yeah. Just to give you an idea, that's an old lifelike boxcar. That's an old Buckman Spectrum Light Mountain. There's a couple of wheels from Prairies. A couple of bogies from some Rapido couplers that I don't use. And then all this scrap stuff, that's just broken white metal stuff. You know, so if you can find white metal kits where most of it's, you know, half damaged or whatever, if it's cheap, buy it. You know, practice on it. Make something, kit bash it if you want to. You know, and you can come up with
Dale uses charcoal for weathering.
Yeah. It's amazing. I finally found a new use for this camera stand. I can point at things.
So we're halfway through the show tonight, but we don't have a video to show for you guys. So this is just going to be an express service running non-stop through to the end. Please stand clear of the yellow line.
Keep your hands and feet inside the ride at all times until police stop.
Etc. and so on.
Yeah.
That was what I wanted to say at the beginning until I paused up the intro.
Oh god.
And then I just lost track of everything.
Yeah, but at least you came back on track. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm back on track.
How's my side view?
Not pretty.
Good fight.
I never realised I had a freckle there.
That's better than the view we were getting earlier before we went online.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's my beautiful wife.
Hi, Crystal. How are you?
Yeah. I'm just reading through the comments at the moment. India ink is found in art stores and very black, but can be thinned with isopropyl alcohol. Thank you, Michael.
Alcohol.
Wilma, hey Wilma, how are you? I think Wilma's making comments about inks. Get it at a Hobby Lobby, Heath. It's ink. Mix it with alcohol to make a wash. Great for weathering wood. Whisper. I'm in the shower. Ooh, I've been told.
Yeah. Marty M, boom. Dull coat over clear window plastic will create a frosted finished window. That's a good suggestion.
Yeah.
All you have to do is stick your fingers on it when you've got glue on your fingers.
Yeah, I was saying,
Fingerprints.
yeah, blue fingerprints are hard to remove.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I'm just trying to think. I've just had a complete mind blank. Oh, that's right. So last week, I mentioned. I'll change camera after this, so everyone can see what I'm talking. I just went around. There you go. That's
Oh,
better.
don't break it, Shannon.
What do you mean break it?
I said don't break it.
You call me ugly?
No, I was worried about you breaking the stream, but okay, you took it that way.
Oh. Anyway, so last week I was mentioning to everyone that we wanted to start another contest. There is still a couple of people out there we're still waiting to hear back from, so we can send prizes. It's very hard when we don't have contact details. But anyway, we'll get that later on. But yeah, so Steve, do you have that package?
I do.
Okay, if you want to grab that, and I'll go through with everyone. So, since we've been talking about weathering and whatnot these last two episodes, and like as understandably, there's going to be a lot of people out there that are new to this. There's going to be a lot of people that are veterans at weathering, you know. So in discussing with the rest of the team, what we've decided is we're going to do like what a lot of the other channels do, which is do a weathering competition as such. But it's going to be a little bit of a twist. We don't want you to just weather an object or a rolling stock or a loco or something like that. We want you to make somewhat of a miniature diorama if possible. Okay, so just to put in perspective, this is a scrap piece of balsa wood that I've got. That's a 50-foot boxcar. It can be as long, so if I was to weather a boxcar, it can be as big as a boxcar or whatever. You know, you can do whatever you want to it. But if you can make a little diorama, you know, and have a practice and have a go, because that's the main thing we want to do. Like, obviously, for those who have never done it before, we want them to have a crack. We want them to have a go. We want them to get into weathering. Because at the end of the day, if you're in this hobby for the long run, you know, you will really enjoy weathering, and it'll just add so much more life to your layout. With the veterans, on the other hand, it'll just be a good little bit of fun, you know, for us to have a look, compare, and whatnot, and we get to see what everyone is capable of doing. Now, with that, you know, between us, the team, we'll try and pick the top 5, I reckon. What do you reckon, top 5 guys? Or do you want to do top 10?
Your call.
Yeah.
Your call. Yeah.
All right. Okay, we'll do top 5 then. So we'll pick the top 5, and then once we've picked the top 5, we'll get you guys, the community, to pick the winner.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Okay. So this is going to be a bit of a joint competition, giveaway kind of thing. And the prize that everyone is going to get, which we have had this for a while now, and now Steve,
a long time.
Yeah, now Steve's full screen. Steve, do you want to show the community what we have up to offer to give away?
Wonderful little brown box. It's just a nice
That's
little
it.
box.
That's what you get. Just a box.
You get this box, but it's got these nice little Lionel pocket watches.
Oh, that's nice.
Ooh.
Yeah. Now they are original Lionel watches.
So
those set on Australian time?
they're set 3 times. Your time, my time, and no time.
In no time. Okay.
Okay, so that's the deal. And the time frame we were thinking of doing this is we'll give everyone till the start of August to get your entries in. So, you know, you've got the email down below in the description. So email us your entries and whatnot once you have completed them, obviously. And yeah, and then at the start of August, you know, as I said, the team will go through all the entries and pick the top 5 that we think are done really well. And yeah, and then from there we'll go to you, the community, and go, hey guys, this is the top 5. Who's going to be the prize winner? And as I said, like, it'll be a bit of fun, you know, because at the end of the day, everyone's going to walk away with a small diorama that they can show off to everyone. Go, this is how good I am. As I said, anyone who hasn't weathered before, they get good practice. And for all the veterans, again, it's just a bit of fun, and it's something, if they need to, they can all incorporate into the layout later on.
Or sell it.
Yeah, or sell it, because you'd be surprised how many people actually love buying dioramas like that.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Yeah, that should be a fun little project. I've never actually done a diorama before, so I may do one just to do one.
Well,
Yeah,
I did one, a little tiny one. It was a, shoot, where is this right here? It was just kind of when I was trying to test water techniques, and it was just kind of like and it ended up looking like an ocean, you know, and so that was actually the first one I ever did. So that doesn't count, but definitely doesn't count.
Shannon, was the subject was just anything you want to make it. You're not. It's not a particular way you want it to look.
Yeah, anything like, you know, obviously us being a model railroad channel, you know, obviously a lot of people's gonna have rolling stock, locomotives, you know, even if it's a junk loco, you know. Like, to give you an idea, like I'm not a stranger to dioramas. Let me change camera angle. And again. And I'll change that angle. There you go. See that little hobo camp right there? I think you can everyone can see it.
Yep. Yeah, we can see it.
Yep. That hobo camp was a diorama. And all I did was I literally got a hobby knife. I cut out a square, you know, in my grassy area, glued it down, built up the grass around it, blended it in, added a few more details, added some hobos, added a little flickering bonfire, and now it's part of my layout. You know, like, as you can see, it's not very big. It's probably 2.5 inches by 2.5 inches. But there you go. It can be as simple as that. It could be, I don't know. It could be a tree. You know, if you want to, model a tree, go for it. Model a tree on the hill with someone in the swing. If you want to go all out, model your own house. I know at one point I was crazy enough to do that. That was a headache and a half.
I have seen it done. There's an Australian guy, Luke Towan. I think.
Oh yeah, he 3D printed his. Oh my god.
He is a fantastic modeler.
He can't be in the contest.
Yeah, I could say he can't enter that.
Yeah, Luke. Like, all of us are like here, and Luke Towan is like on this pedestal that we all look up to, and we go, teach us how to do this properly. So, but in saying that, if you need more ideas on building a small diorama, go watch Luke Towan's videos. They're great videos, you know. Like,
There's nobody better to watch, I think, for building a diorama and making it look real. The guy's phenomenal.
Yeah, like I think the last video I watched of his, he did a full surfing wave. You know,
Treehouse was the latest one he's done.
I haven't seen the treehouse yet. I've got to watch that.
I like the one he did with the river, where he actually had the trout suspended in the water, like they were swimming in the water. It was really pretty cool to see.
I have a hard time watching it because I look at that and then I look at mine and like, oh man.
Yeah, and he makes it look awfully easy. And it, most of it is pretty easy. It's just getting started.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the thing. A lot of the techniques we're talking about here, a lot of the techniques a lot of other people do, Luke Towan has pretty much, come up with all these ideas himself. I know from Luke Towan, I learned how to build chain link fencing, and I've learned how to do river effects, and I've learned how to. What else have I learned from Luke?
Crushed Leaves was a Luke Towan one as well.
Yep, the crushed leaves, trees. He's phenomenal in doing trees, scenery, static grass, you name it. Yes, yeah. Wilma, Luke makes it look way too easy. He makes it look like a 3-year-old who can paint the Mona Lisa.
But he's been doing it for a long time, and he's done a lot. So he's had the chance to get really good at it. A lot of practice.
Yes, exactly. What else? Ooh, looking at the chart with our lovely night bot that I've set up ages ago, reminding me of the traveling boxcar. I have had one or two people asking me about the boxcar and where it's at. Some people think it's en route to the States. Some people think that it's already done the full loop of the States and whatnot. Just to set everyone on the same page, we are currently organising the logistics to get it to the States. So at the moment, the N-scale boxcar is en route to Ali, so that way she can pack it up in one box instead of sending 2 boxes and paying 2 separate parcel prices. I will be sending some other stuff, and it'll all be landing at Steve's door, hopefully, what are we, June? Maybe the end of June, because I know the last few times I've been sending stuff to the States, it's been taking 4 to 5 weeks.
It might be a little bit quicker from my... Oh, actually, no, it might take longer coming from my end because coming from West Australia, everything has to go via Sydney. It'll have to go via the Redfern International Mail Exchange. So it'll go there first, and then it'll probably go overseas.
Unless they send it through to the UK first, and then over to the States. Go the other side.
Well, you'll have to print that out on the com note, I guess.
Postal Service will sort it out. We just got to map it.
Yep.
Let's see. My chat's just frozen. Has anyone got chat? My chat's just frozen.
No, it's still going.
Yeah.
Yeah, chat's working for me.
Hang on, let me restart.
Dave BNSF N-Scale's talking about his subway scene. That is my absolute favourite, is that subway scene. It is just phenomenal, especially where he's put all the LEDs and things like that.
Yeah.
And 3D printing the lights.
Another very good one that's weathering is Kathy Miller. We didn't want to forget her.
Yeah,
that's
Kathy
what
Miller, she's, you know,
She's really good.
yeah, if you ever want to learn, you know, in more detail weathering techniques, go see these people. You know, Luke Towan, I've already forgotten her name, my baby brain.
Kathy Miller.
Kathy Miller. Oh my God, I am hopeless.
Mark on the Sweden. And there's a guy that I've watched some of his videos, and he's really, really good. But I can't think of his Luke Apps.
That's right. Yeah.
He's in England, I think, and he models.
Yeah.
He doesn't do a model railroad. He's a gamer. So he does dioramas and stuff and scenery and stuff for gaming.
Like Warhammer and
fantasy gaming
Battlefield
stuff, but it would translate very easily to model railroads. And he does a lot of stuff that he uses, not product that's made for, like Woodland Scenics, stuff that's actually made for modeling. He'll pick up stuff that's just at the hardware store and show you how to use it in certain ways. So
Right.
He's a good one to pick up too. And I'm pretty sure that's his name, Luke Apps.
Luke Apps. Actually, I started watching him before Luke Towan, and I thought that was Luke Towan. It's like, it's like not.
Yeah.
Yeah. JC Strip Track from last week. He was a guest on our show.
Yeah.
You know, go watch his videos. You know, like he's got a lot of knowledge. You know, I'm hoping to catch up with him, you know, online soon, and you know, learn a few things from him and just talk crap. You know, like if you look for it, you'll be able to find it. And as I said, everything we've talked about here can translate to pretty much anything. And as I said, there's a lot of sources where so many people can go into more detail. You know, like we'd be happy to go into detail ourselves, but if we were to do that, we would be here for what, 10 weeks?
Yeah.
And we're taking away from them as well.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So
yeah, another one that is good at weathering, and he's mainly does structures. That's what he's doing right now. I'm kind of anxious to see him weather some rolling stock or something. Is Michael McCarville. He does a pretty good live stream, and he shows his models after he's finished them. But if you catch one of his live streams, he does a lot of times he'll do a marathon build, and he'll build a full structure and everything. And
yeah, he's Wednesday nights, I think, at 9.
Yeah. But he does a real good job with structures and stuff. I know that, and I'm sure he does a good job with rolling stock too. I just haven't seen any of that from him, but I'm sure he'll get to it eventually.
Yeah.
Shannon,
yes.
Here's a question. When are we doing the cutoff for the competition?
I said start of August, so I think
Start of August?
if I go to the calendar again, yeah, if I go to the calendar again to August, so July, August, yeah, the 1st of August is a Saturday, so pretty much as soon as August starts, that's the cutoff.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen.
Nice and easy.
Think about 6-7 weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, and it can be done. Like I've done a 23-inch diameter layout in 2 weeks. Fully wired up, weathered, detailed, you name it. So, doing a small diorama that's between 2.5 by 2.5 to up to maybe say 6 by 6 inches should be a piece of cake for any skill level anyway.
Yeah.
And
there again, it's don't be afraid. Just get started. Just do it. Do something. You'll be amazed. You'll surprise yourself.
Yeah. Anyway, it's time to get what we got. We've got 7 minutes left, so haven't done this for a while. So everyone in chat, if you want to just go in there, chuck up your channels, why not? How many subscribers you've got, and all that. Go ahead. I guess if you have any videos coming up, quickly mention it in there if you want. But yeah, otherwise, is there anything else you guys want to add?
Yeah, send in some videos so we can put them in the intermission. We need more videos.
Yeah.
So we're not running any express services.
Exactly. It's not about us. It's about you guys. Send us something. Anything. Please.
Yeah.
Please.
If anything, just send us a video of your truck, you driving to work and just talk.
Yeah. 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 Tell us anything.
I can see Container Man sending in a video right now.
Oh, well, yeah. I guess we have to draw the line at something.
Or you can show us your curtains.
All right. Whilst everyone does that, I'm getting back to
Chat's
some
really
trains.
firing up.
How about if I start reading off the numbers? Marty M. Boom. 217. Bill at New Fenris Railroad, 202. Steve, 87th PSAP, 200. He's releasing video on conveyor build. 4th one should be later today. Human City Junction, 247. Let's see. Dale Bass, Highball and Hogger, you got 216. Actually, Claude, you're coming up on a contest, I understand.
Yeah, I'll be giving away one of the choppers.
Yeah.
It's the small one, but it's brand new, and I'll be giving that away when I get to 200 subs. And last I looked, it was at 196. I'll be doing an update here in the next few days. I don't know exactly when I'll get it done because I've got company here now, but I'll try and get that update out. I'm about 2 weeks 2 weeks long of getting one out. It's been about 6 weeks since I've done one, but I've been doing a lot of work on the layout, and my business picked up big time. So I've been real busy with that and haven't done as much as I wanted. But the trestle is almost completely complete. I did run some tests over it, so I will be showing that in my next update. So stay tuned.
Cool. And Leslie Gilpin's got 169. Grandpa Rails, welcome. Hello, how are you doing? 543. And our buddy Wilmer at the Indian Head Valley Railroad, 679 was the last time he saw. So that's all I see, unless I missed somebody. Let's see. I think that's it. Yeah, I don't see anything else. So I guess with that, we will tell you thank you for coming. And we'll see you next week at the same bat time and the same bat channel.
Thanks for the warning.
Yeah, thanks again, guys. What time is it? Yeah, thanks again, guys. We'll see you again next week. And that's the one last thing before we do go. Send us emails on what else you want us to talk about. Okay,
Give
send
us
us some
topic
emails,
ideas.
and so that way we can actually talk about what you want to talk about instead of us mind-boggling our heads and clashing heads and running ourselves, nuts trying to figure out what we can talk to you guys about and make
Because
the
if
show
we don't
interesting.
get anything, then we have to do it beans, and you guys don't want to do that. You don't want to see that.
Well, the other thing is, if you want to be on the show, be a guest on the show, let us know. And, come on, you talk about your layout and what you're doing and that kind of stuff. And we'll get you on the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So thanks again, guys. We'll see you again next week. And till then, take care and have fun.
And we'll
Later.
see you trackside.
Bye.
See ya.